Everybody. Good to be with you. I hope you're doing great today. This is a pretty quick video, pretty succinct, I think. Talking about I spent a little time talking about competitive analysis, and basically the idea here is when we start to think about our competitors, what we want to do is have a little bit of a framework to say, well, what is it about competitors we want to know? What information is going to help us in terms of learning who they are, what they're kind of going to do, or what their goals are, kind of what we can expect from their behavior, and try to predict what that is, and also if we know how our competitors will react or how they're going to behave, then we can better understand how we should compete against them. And so, if you think about any forms of competition, knowing your competitor, it informs and it really dictates in many ways what you're going to do and what your actions are going to be. So one thing to think about is, well, look, this is a research thing. This is a competitive research is something that's a field of a professional field where people will do analyses of competition or of firms. And those are the types of things. So where you get that information can be important, and the agency that you hire, or this corporate intelligence space is very competitive. Obviously, there are areas of ethical dilemma, I guess, when you because you want to know as much as you can about your competitors, but do so in a very in an appropriate manner. Obviously, corporate spying is a thing which can be would certainly cross the line if it's done improperly or unethically. So it's just something to be aware of and know. But knowing about your competitors is a natural thing that we do. It's not. It's just part of how we form strategy. So supplemental material that you'll find beneficial is a chapter in Lehman and Weiner's product management textbook. They have a book that is really a great text. It's not even a text, it's just a book. But chapter 5 deals with some of the elements of learning about and knowing more about your competitors. They lay out probably 10 or 15 or 20 different sources of information. So where you find out, how you can find out about your competitors. And that's definitely, like, if you're doing research on a firm and you need to think about where you can get information, I would go there, and I would look at those sources, and I think you'll find it entertaining and really helpful, to be quite frank. So this is one of the things that students always ask: how do I find out more information about a company? Always. This is a good kind of example, if you're in industry, what you might consider doing. Okay, but anyways, how do we, what do we do when we analyze competition? There's basically 5 steps. The textbook emphasizes a couple of these in kind of a format, but really 5 steps. And so I'm just going to walk through these 5 quickly. So first and foremost, we want to define who our competitors are. So you should have a list of who your direct competitors are, who are otherwise known in your strategic group of competition, who are the ones who are most likely going to split market share with you. If a customer is choosing in your product category, they choose you, and then they could be choosing somebody else. It might be the group of companies that are in their selection set. This is one good way to identify your competitors. Ask your customers, who else do you look at when you're looking to buy this product? Who would you, if you don't buy ours, who would be the next company that you'd most likely purchase from? And that will give you a great list of your most direct competitors. So, defining your space, doing the product market analysis, understanding, kind of the niche or group of customers or products that you offer is the first thing. So, ID who you are. Second, identify and describe your key competitors. So this is more of a descriptive thing, where we're looking at like um, where they're located, how big are they, what is their capacity, how much market share do they have, how long have they been around, are they a leader, are they a follower, how innovative they are they, what are their key differentiating features, like what is it that sets them apart, what do they do well, things like that. That's it. That's just a key. Yeah, that's kind of a basic kind of thing they do. Steps three and four, though, kind of develop a little bit more. When we evaluate our key competitors, we're really kind of getting a better understanding of like their philosophy. What are their goals? What are their objectives? What is their like their past history of decision making? Where is it that they want to go? Like, what is their strategic path? Have they been expanding into new markets? Are they creating new products? Those are the two big growth things that we look at. Are they offering new loyalty programs? Are they doing a new CRM program? Are they, all of those things that tell us about their function, how they behave. So, number two, we kind of described who they are and what they do. Number three really talks about why they do these things and kind of their history of decision making. Because if you have that, then when we move to step number four, we can better predict what we think they will do, right? So what will they do as a result of, kind of moving forward? If they have these certain goals and objectives, what are they doing to accomplish those, and what will their future behavior look like? That's where we want to kind of get to, because then we can kind of form strategy and things like that. The last step is to think further outside the box. When we think about substitutes and new entrants, we think about kind of the space that's going to impact us in the future, for potential new competitors. And again, that's we talked about this myopia thing. If you're only focused on the here and now today, you may lose sight of what could blindside you down the road by new competitive pressures that you don't really see today yet. And that could be something that you do. But really, that three and the four are the enormously important steps that help you understand your competitive space. And again, our textbook really kind of focuses on this. If you look at this sort of two-step type process, the number three level that we were just talking about, step three, assess your competitors' current and future objectives, assess their strategy, and assess their resource profile. We'll talk about those a little bit. And then number four, predict the competitors' future strategies. That's again kind of what we need to do, because once you can predict what they will do, then we can adapt what we will do in anticipation like that. As a little side note, we have a thing called game theory. So when you get into game theory, what you do is create a set of scenarios that have probabilities associated with them. So if company A does one thing, what's the probability company B will do something else? And then you can play a game and you can do a bunch of scenario tests and just kind of say, well, they will do this. And as a reaction, there's an 80% chance they will do this. And then in game theory, what we do is we look at the outcomes, and whether the outcomes are beneficial or not. They might be mutually beneficial for both companies. They might be beneficial to one and not the other, or any combination of those. So in other words, kind of thinking from a game theory perspective, we have to know what the likelihood is of the other company's reaction based on something we do. And right, vice versa. If the company does something, what will we do to maximize our outcome and minimize their outcome, right? So, so again, it's a series of they call them they're economic games, and it's called game theory. It's really kind of an interesting area. There's a lot of theory involved in that. You might have heard of something called the prisoner's dilemma. That's one particular game, but there are hundreds of games. There are lots of games that you can design. But that's something that you may extend this kind of structure of thinking towards if you want to do that. Okay, so again, kind of built in or baked into that step number three, identify what your competition's objectives are. So ask these questions. What are they trying to achieve? Why are they trying to achieve it? And are they satisfied with their achievements or do they have other ambitions? So you can look at what their goals are, you can look at their mission statement, you can look at their principles or their value statement, those types of things. You can certainly look for there anything they publish that projects like what they want to do in the future. That's certainly something that you could do. If the CEO gives any type of interviews, you need to look at those and see if you can tease out, kind of predict, kind of what they're trying to achieve. So current and future objectives. What is it the company wants to do? You could even interview former employees of that company and talk to them about what you felt like the company was trying to achieve. Like if it's a real guarded company, a former employee may be eligible to do that, and you could do some research that way to find out what that is. Because I mean, if they say they want to do something, they're going to go try to do it, right? And they're going to go try to do it by implementing some strategy. So that's the second part of this. Like, what strategies are they using to achieve or to pursue those objectives? So, what target markets are they looking for? What is their strategic focus? Are they customer oriented or are they competitor oriented? Look at their marketing mix strategies. Those types of things help, again, kind of tell you how they're trying to accomplish these goals and objectives. It's the operational aspects of how they do business. So absolutely, this is all visible. You can see and analyze their advertising. You can dissect their ads, for instance, to see what their messaging is and what appeals they're using. How often do they introduce new products? How are they changing and reshaping their product portfolio? So just as you evaluate your product portfolio, you evaluate your competitors, and over time, you can see when they add products and when they delete them. By adding products, you can kind of discern what product strategy they're using, and so on and so forth. So again, observing the way they behave tells you the strategies that they're using. And again, the strategy you use today is likely the strategy you'll use tomorrow, all in support of your goals and objectives. Okay, the final part here, and we haven't really gotten into organizational resources quite yet, but when we talk about organizational resources or the resource profile, what we talk about are the bundles of skills and philosophies, I guess, the company uses to operate on. So some companies, for instance, have lots and lots of fantastic people who add human capital. They're like scientists or really strategists, and they're really so that's like a resource they leverage in order to do business. Some companies leverage the relationship they have with other companies, and they're really strong, like in distribution and supply chain and stuff like that. But that would be a resource or a skill that they're capable of doing. And so those are what we call resources. And again, look at other chapters in the text that focus on resource-based theory of the firm. That's what we call it. And identify where they gather their strength. Financial resource is a good one. Like, is a company in lots and lots of debt? If they're in a lot of debt, then they're in a very precarious financial position. Conversely, if they don't have a lot of debt and let's say they have very low costs compared to you, They have a lot of profit margin. They're in a very strong position. Or maybe this is a smaller company that's a subsidiary of a very large company, and they can use or leverage some of the financial resources of the large company to do the things that they want to do. That's another thing to think about, like in terms of their resource profile. Okay, so again, when we talk about resources, we're talking about the skills the company has, or the things they can use to leverage in a marketplace or in competition to form an advantage. That's at the end of the day what it is. And so that's what I want you to take away from that. The final thing then is what it leads to, which would be predicting the competitor's future strategy. So again, that's number 4 on our sort of evaluation list. And here what we want to do is remember that past behavior very closely resembles future action. And so if you can be a real student of your competitors and what they've done in the past, you can oftentimes predict what they will do in the future. Remember that game theory concept, right? We're going to apply a probability, like if they did this action in the past, there's a high probability they will do that action in the future. How can I manipulate that? How can I manipulate them to change? Maybe I don't want them to do that, or maybe because I know they're going to do that, it helps reform my strategy. So how will they react to your actions? What resources do they typically leverage to gain a competitive advantage? Just ask what they will do. Look at their past strategies and reactions. That's a big deal there. So again, this whole idea is just assessing your competitors, kind of what you want to do. The final 2 things you can do is choose your reactions, and just kind of think about when you see a competitor succeed, think about how you can incorporate those best practices. And this could be something called benchmarking. It could be a benchmarking activity where you copy what they do because it's been successful in the marketplace. Likewise, or conversely, you can avoid what they do as well. That's kind of like common sense, I guess, to kind of think about that. But again, kind of when you learn from competitors, one of the things we do is benchmarking, where we take best practices and we use those as kind of a standard for what we should do. There might be benchmarking within an industry as well, where everybody does sort of the same thing, and that seems to work. But I would challenge you to extend this and kind of just adopt those things that seem to work well and avoid those things that seem to work poorly. And then wrapping this all up, a further analysis could be done where you grade yourself and place a grade on your competitors on things that matter in competition for your industry. So again, this is like industry specific. When a company succeeds, what are the factors that drive that success? And how do we compete on those? So this is an adaptation of something called a snake plot, just from a research perspective. And basically what this is, there are 6 different elements that are defined as impacting success for competition in this scenario or in this example. Financial strength, staying power, however that's defined, strong R&D, technological breadth, quick response capability, so in other words, being nimble, and then in this case, European marketing, because this is an example from a European text. So anyways, what those 6 are will change and vary, and you can add those and change those. But the point is they have been identified as indicators that if you do well on those, you'll have a successful competitive position and you'll do well in the marketplace. So so that's the kind of the blue column on the far left. Then we look at these other 4 boxes that ourself, competitor A, competitor B, and competitor C. So we have ourselves and 3 competitors. And basically what we've done is we've graded ourselves and then our 3 competitors on these 6 different components. And then put the grades together, sort of averaged them together, if you will, or added them together. You can do a summative type of a thing. So the grade we gave ourselves was a 5. Now that might be overstating things. Maybe we're not truthful, but anyways, we feel like we're the best. So we got, or almost the best, 5. Because competitor A scores a 6, competitor C is a -2. And so this is like an overall or a global score of competitiveness in the industry. And we're looking ourselves now. So what could we do better? Well, we could be more nimble. We could try to be more quick to the market with things. We could definitely understand our marketing better. Like in European marketing, for instance, we do poorly. And that's an area that we could strengthen and then form a better competitive position, right? Meanwhile, the competitor A does really well in the first two categories. They could also improve their competitiveness. In fact, all four of us could, or their nimbleness, excuse me, all four of us could, and that would help them. Okay, so this concept of the evaluation is a tool again that you can use when you've got all this information and you've derived kind of this competitive space. You understand who your competitors are. This wraps up like a real managerial approach to where we can become more competitive, and which of our competitors should we be worried about and what makes them competitive, if you will. So this is a really good tool, really beneficial for you. I hope you adopt this and think about this a little bit more. So if you have any questions, let me know. It's been great reaching out to you, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.